Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the counselor's office. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor, and we are back with news for you. That's right, we're back here in this week in Destiny 2. And hey, no, all memes aside, we actually have important news to talk about. Imagine that. It's crazy. We actually have something besides just Bungie posting ads for their microtransaction BS. We actually have a reason to care about the TWAB. I'm going to here we are. This is what really makes me, I know it's their website, but every time they get a chance, they literally take their microtransactions and throw it down your throat. They want, and it's funny because they give you like important stuff. And then, hey guys, all the way down here, by the way, all this important stuff and more microtransactions. That's right, your favorite shopping mall, and it continues to add. Come on, you nasty, fat pay pigs. Pull out your credit cards and buy up all our crap. Listen, it's very toxic of me to say that, but it is the honest truth that people who complain about the game or the state of the game are really dumb. It's putting it nicely. Because they're speaking with their wallets. Why would Bungie care? That's just why they do this. That's why they're egregious. That's why everything that is good, like, who would have loved to have some content to chase? They could have made a mini event. Let's take Warframe, for example. Warframe does events. They actually care about their player base. They actually care about the game, and you can chase things in game that are based on holidays and events. But you can do that in Destiny 2, Mr. Gaming Counselor. Sure, if you pull out your credit card, you can chase Eververse down, and she will gladly take your money. Same thing. Like, I'm not even saying just give it to people, but they could have tied it to such a cool event or tie it to the wishes. Like, if you complete all the wishes, you get to unlock one of these sets for one of your characters. Just one. So choose wisely. That's really cool. Hey, but if after you've unlocked one of these sets, then you can purchase the other two sets with real cash. So you want all of it, you have to pay for the others, but we're going to give you a freebie that you can chase in game. All right, that's enough ranting on the microtransactions, but I have to continue to press this because people are so stupid that they continue to buy microtransactions even though they do not like the state that Destiny is in. If you love Destiny the way it is, you don't think there's anything wrong, do your thing, right? Eat crap and enjoy. But people like me who are giving critiques and complaining about the state of the game because it's dying. It's literally dying. People are being fired. It is make or break for Bungie. People like us who care about the game and are tired of its bullcrap. We need to stop buying microtransactions. Stop giving them your money because they don't care what you say if you're giving them money. All right, the important stuff, the real juice. Let's talk about sandbox changes, baby. A lot of it's PvP geared, so rejoice, PvP players. You are going to either love or hate this. I don't know. Personally, I skimmed over some of it. Seems all right. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like they're making things more convoluted than necessary, especially with like special ammo. Like, just go back to how D1 was. But whatever, right? We're talking about abilities. They took things from the final shape that was going to get passed, and they brought it forward to get things set up for Destiny 2 Into the Light, which they're amping up Into the Light like it's supposed to be a whole content, like almost like it feels like it should be like the 30th anniversary kind of style content. And if it's not, if it's just literally just updates and nothing actual content wise, or redoing lost sectors or replaying stupid missions, I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind. If I have to do anything that isn't relatively new or added to the game, I do not care. It is such a cop-out. But we'll find out in April whether it is a dumpster fire or not. So they're going to do some ability updates. So we're talking about reduction to Thread Spectre. Let's be honest. We all knew that was going to happen. Uptime is ridiculous. I could tell you it's going to happen. Threadlings are some of the most annoying crap in Destiny. At least the stasis turrets, you could complain about them, but you could shoot them. I've never seen a object chase me and then just I shoot it and it does nothing. It's like, what? Man-eating cockroaches you can't kill. Love it. So they're changing that. They're fixing some of the issues with solar. Solar's getting buffed. Someone at Bungie loves the solar subclass because this season should have been about stasis, and solar's getting all the love. Thread Spectre. Let's just see what they're doing versus reading all the junk, right? Because I could tell you why they're nerfing it. It has too much uptime. It's too annoying. They want to make it more fair. That's the bottom dollar. Whether you agree with that or not, you can let me know in the comments down below. I'm just reading. I'm not telling you that's a good thing or not. I'm just saying I thought it was annoying, but I could care less either way. I'm not a hunter shadow clone jutsu main. That's not me. Ensnaring Slam, reduced class ability regeneration, penalty during duration by 50% in PvE activities. Now they did that for PvE because they're also impacting PvE with these nerfs, which is annoying, but they're trying to offset it. We will see. In addition, Threaded Spectre now applies the same class ability regeneration penalty used by Ensnaring Slam when the player creates a Threaded Spectre. Let's go where we don't want to have a significant negative impact on Threaded Spectre's performance in PvE. So we're reducing the duration that generation penalty by 50% when in PvE activities. So essentially, it shouldn't do anything different in PvE. Because they're adding 50%, but they're also taking the 50% away in PvE specifically. And then they're also buffing the damage that it does to PvE targets, which I think is fine. I think Threadlings in general, I think in general, Threadlings are weak. So that's fine. I mean, Shadow Clone Jutsu and PvE, whatever. That's cool. Talking about Threadlings, they're in PvP. They're a nightmare, right? They come around a corner and you know you're gonna have annoyance. You know that they're just gonna be like, you're gonna try to shoot them, even if you have like a mile away to shoot them. They go right through them. Like they are the Neo of the enemy world, where they're just skittering on the floor, dodging your bullets. It's crazy. Increased aim shape size from 0.41 to 0.5 meters. This makes aim assist more effective against them, making them easier to shoot. Reduced base damage versus enemy players from 40 to 35, so they will do less damage. Damage with Thread of Evolution equipped reduced versus enemy players from 45 to 38.5. So you're only getting a 3.5 increase. Whether you think that's worth it or not, I don't know. You determine. Fixed an issue where groups of Threadlings were not reliably chain detonating when one was destroyed. Yeah, you'd shoot one and it was like, oh, cool. I'm glad the rest aren't dying. Fixed an issue where we already talked about that. Fixed an issue where Threadlings sometimes did not play their non-damaging destruction performance when destroyed by enemy fire, resulting in them appearing to blip out of existence. Whoop. That's just a visual, it looks like. All right, so we realize these changes are not localized to Threadrunner and will also affect Broodweaver potency in the Crucible. To compensate for this, we're pulling some other buffs forward that we originally planned to ship in the final shape to keep the power of their overall kit in roughly the same place. I find this funny. Hey, we're going to nerf like Threadlings, your kits. We're going to nerf all this. We're going to nerf this. But hey, you can do more with your little melee. Isn't that great? Because it's definitely 1-to-1. You throwing your melee definitely changes the nerfs that you're getting. Warlocks, sorry, are bad. Okay, so Arcane Needle, increased aim assist angle, about 50%. Increased aim assist fall off distance from 30 to 45 meters. Increasing tracking angular velocity, how quickly the projectile can bend toward its target by 5%. Increase the length of the projectile's tracking shape, the shape in front of the projectile that it uses to find targets. Fix an issue where uncharged melee, I know that's triggering, it's melee, but let's say melee anyways, while Arcane Needle is equipped, resulting in the player appearing to freeze in a melee pose. Okay, so Restoration and Radiant updates. Restoration and the buffs currently have a number of buggy interactions with timer extensions, most notably Ember of Empyrean Fragment. Yes, in combination with Ember of Mercy. We've rebuilt a significant portion of these keyword buffs to store their timer data more safely. Restoration and Radiant. Fixed an issue where the maximum duration of Restoration and Radiant buffs were incorrectly stored, resulting in their buff timers resetting to their initial duration instead of their maximum when the buff was reapplied. So essentially you would just go back to like this dinky timer and you're like, what? I went from 30 to what? This also resolves similar issues with shorter restoration sources like sunspots with Soul Invictus aspect. Yeah, if Titans didn't need more love, come on. I mean, I don't mean that in a way that like they're good. I mean, like they actually do need the love because they were hit hard. Alongside these changes, we'll adjust both the Ember of Empyrean and Ember of Mercy fragments. Left unchanged, the dramatically increased consistently resulting from this bug fix, these two fragments, particularly when paired together, would vastly exceed our power bar. But you release them with the intention that they would be at the state that they would be if you didn't tinker with them. So, okay. Yeah, I'm just glad we're on the same page that they realize it's a problem, but they shipped it that way. That if it came out the way it was, it would have been overpowered. Good to know. Ember of Mercy now extends current restoration duration by 2 seconds when a fire sprite is collected. If you don't already have restoration active, collecting a fire sprite grants restoration for a 2-second duration. This restoration extension is increased to 3 seconds while Ember of Solace is equipped. Ember of Empyrean increased the maximum duration extension from 12 to 15 seconds. Reworked the duration extension granted with each solar defeated. Previously, if granted, it was always granted a 4-second duration regardless of the type of target defeated. Now the duration extension varies based on the strength of the defeated target. Defeating elite or weaker combatant will result in less time added than in game currently, but defeating will result in less time. But defeating champion or stronger combatants results in a great. So essentially, this is a nerf to Ember of Empyrean. It's a nerf. It's a flat out nerf because most of the time you're going to be relying on trash mobs. Anyways, it's a nerf. But then to compensate, we got buffs, solar ability buffs. Let's stick with solar, sure, because nothing else needs love besides solar. In combination with the Arcane Needle improvements detailed above, we have a small number of solar ability buffs that were originally slated for the final shape. We now feel confident enough to have those buffs up to this release in conjunction with the Solar Aligned Seasonal Artifact. For our Sunbreakers, we are improving the consistency concentration, making it better to be able to catch floating targets or enemies that jump too late. We're also increasing the travel distance of both the Scorch Wave and the Ignition Wave, and further increasing the Ignition Wave's travel speed, yada yada. They're increasing the duration and the speed and how far it goes. That's the bomb dollar. That's the big fancy. It's gonna be better in length, girth, and there you go. Sometimes that's all you need is a couple more inches to get the job done. Oh, Titans, I know you're struggling, but hey, rejoice. You got a couple more inches in you now. We've all heard some consistent feedback about gunpowder gamble self-damage. Yeah, it's dumb. So it's going to do less from 144 to 80. Thank God. All right, so that's it. Now we go to weapons, abilities. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about the abilities. Most of it was meh. The PvE ones are yet to be decided whether it's that big of a deal. We'll see. We'll see for Solar with the Empyrean nerf. We'll see. Maybe I'm reading wrong, but I'm pretty sure the fact that it's going to do less on base trash ads, it's a nerf in that regard. Weapon changes. Good day, Chris Proctor. The weapon team here off the plan update. Each release we make changes to the weapon archetypes, exotic weapons and perks and more intended to improve the balance of the game and introduce some variety. In this release, we have some small adjustments to PvP turning for weapons. The bulk of the PvP changes are PvP specific. All right, well, I'm done with that. So PvE, rockets, grenade launchers, caster swords, nerfs, but mostly buffs, as he likes to say. So, heavy burst hand cannons. They suck on mouse and keyboard. They should be fixing that. Corrected an issue that caused them to have 25% less aim assist. So rejoice. If you love good old Warden's Law, you should be feeling better. Bows. Getting a nerf in PvP. Reduced your aim assist or your auto fall off distance by 15%. Aim assists will be less effective at long range. Reduce the maximum aim cone by 5%. Rejoice, those that hate bows in PvP. We shipped Breakneck with one fewer perk than intended. Oops. That's exactly what they said when they didn't give people their day one emblem for Crota's End. That's also what they said about it when you went solo flawless with Warlord's Dungeon. You paid for it, by the way. And they gave you the last dungeon's emblem. It wasn't even the flawless one either. Whoops. They're so sloppy, it's not even funny. All right, Breakneck is now getting target locked. Rejoice if that's what you wanted, but let's be honest, everyone does not care about that. Lightweight scouts have always had a following. They're not bad. They're not bad. They're not bad. But they've suffered from being unforgiving when missing crits. We're making a change that reduces the proportion of crits. Also, when not being bad doesn't mean they're meta or should be used in trials or whatever. It just means they're not bad. They're not great, but they're not like I'm gonna hate my life using them. Maybe in PvP, I don't know. So base damage 5%. Yay. Snipers. They think snipers are still oppressive. Snipers bad. Shotguns good. So 10% less aim assist cone. Snipers, which is weird because you see people make shots that make no sense, but then you could be right on a target and then still not hit them. I don't know. Rocket launcher meta has become more set than we'd like with adaptive and aggressive because you made that. You literally nerfed precisions. I don't understand who at Bungie doesn't understand. They don't care. Yeah, so they're more set. We thought what we were doing was making it better, but we nerf things to the ground and we don't make them good in any way. In fact, all the rockets that come out have been adaptives or high impacts, and they have the best perks, but all these other ones are just garbage. Why don't you guys like the guns we gave you? Duh. Anyways, precisions are now getting +2 to reserves and reduce the penalty from 10% to 5%. High impacts, which I've always liked high impacts. They're not the best, but they're not bad. Are also getting a +2 to reserves and now deal more detonation damage and less impact for roughly the same total damage. This should make them more effective versus groups or when getting splash damage on a target with a near miss. So it's a little bit more forgiving in that regard, and it can be used for ad clear, which that's fine. The above changes also affect Deathbringer, Gallahorn, and Truth. Like, who cares about Truth? Gallahorn, yes, we still use Gallahorn, and then Deathbringer has a cult following. We've touched heavy grenade launchers. Actually, the splash damage and all that stuff, it may make Deathbringer better. I don't know. I'm interested in that one because Deathbringer is technically not bad damage. It's just, it's too inconsistent. We've touched heavy grenade launchers a few times. They still suck. Mathematically, they're strong, but they still suck. So they're nerfing spike nades, so you're not forced to have to get a god roll requiring spike nades because everything else is garbage. Don't choose anything else because spike nades is the only thing that's viable in grenade launchers right now. But hey, I'm talking about for DPS, by the way. Not blind nades are still fantastic. So they're increasing impact and detonation damage to compensate and dramatically increase the reserve ammunition. Minimum of 6 rounds, maximum 10 rounds, depending on the grenade launcher. Reduced damage from like 8% to 3% overall. So spike nades, which is good. I think so many people are like bent on must have 5 out of 5. Now you don't need a 5. You just get a 4 out of 5 or a 3 out of 5. As long as you have like the key damaging perks. Spike nades is no longer a make or break. Thank God. I'm okay with this. It sucks because we didn't really gain anything except for impact damage. So maybe I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Increased detonation damage by 5% in PvP. This is offset by a reduction of detonation damage for no overall change. Okay. Wave frames. Oh my God. I read this and I was like, have you been playing the same game as me? I've struggled. I guess for GMs, it makes sense. For any content, like even like day ones, you could use a wave frame and they were still good. But definitely in like GMs, I don't know. Maybe I'm having Fantasyland, but I thought wave frames were a lot nastier, especially Nezarec. For the Nezarec encounters, wave frames are just destroys it. Struggle to find an identity with not enough ammo to really work for ad clear as addressed above, and not as much single target damage as standard grenade launchers. With these changes, they'll be able to compete with other grenade launchers and it will be easier to land damage. Wave frames now do 20% more damage, and the wave length is 40% wider. People were thinking they need nerfed. That is so funny how many times I read people talking about they're gonna get nerfed. They're gonna nerf wave frames. I'm sorry, little chuckle there. That was funny. Get wrecked, nerd. Caster swords have historically been garbage because they're garbage. This reduction was more extreme than it needed to be. So we brought the heavy attack damage up to approach with other swords, while also reducing the heavy attack energy granted. So now it takes 4 versus 5, and it does 16% more damage. Will this make or break? I don't think so. I think it's already high risk, high reward. When you swing your blade, you have to hope that you're hitting it. It's also high risk, high reward that you're using a sword in the first place in this game, because it is not a sword friendly game. Not like D2 or D1. D2 punishes you for using a sword. You are absolutely punished. In some regards, you can use exotic swords, but anything, most outside of maybe Crota, most instances, like especially GMs, you will be punished for using a sword. When's the last time you ran a sword in a Grandmaster? Exactly. Exotics. Vision Swing is strong, but not good enough because it kicks like a trucker. So now it's going to have a more deterministic recoil pattern. I feel like, why can't we just have that across the board? But I don't know, maybe that would cause more issues. Someone in PvP can let me know. Mythoclast is being treated more like an auto rifle, even though it's a 360 and it's been nerfed constantly. They're finally giving it a buff. So they're increasing the ADS damage fall off scaler from 0.5 to 0.78, which it should have been. If it's no longer a 390 and it's a 360, you should get all the benefits. You made it slower, a slow shooting turd, and it makes me sad. Wishender. Wishender is good, especially with Oath Keepers, but it is out of control in PvP. So to offset it, with, you gotta think bows also are getting all the other nerfs, and so is Wishender. On top of that, True Sight will now deactivate after For 3 seconds of holding it. To reactivate, you must fully redraw the bow. It's a nerf. I see it more of an annoyance than actually like a nerf. It is definitely an annoyance because you can just go, you know, people are going to do that. But I also think if you're wanting the buff for Oathkeeper, you're going to have to choose your targets wisely. But for most people, they're using it not for the buff. They're using it simply to be able to see where people are. Wall hacks, right? Edge of action. I have not tried any of the glaives. I have not heard anything good about them. But it's getting an increase to damage resistance in PvE against all combatants except for bosses to 85% and increased its damage resistance against bosses by 15%. So it's a lot. Like 85% increase. So it's increasing resistance by 85%. So I'm curious, what's the base increase right now? If we're like, if they don't want to compare it to Bubble and it's not supposed to compete with Bubble, is it more than Bubble or is it less than Bubble? Because 85% sounds like a lot, but if the base resistance already is not that high, I don't know. That's just something in the hood. I don't know. Manticore. I forgot this gun existed because it shipped with aerial combat that no one ever engages in unless you're a warlock and you're using something else that's 10 times better than an SMG. That's called Manticore. Other SMGs are better. So now what you have happened is players are now airborne for 0.5 seconds, deal damage to the weapon to activate the perk. So you're not accidentally doing it and you're stuck in the air, which is really annoying. Special reload to disengage anti-gravity flush thrusters. So you can just, yeah, whatever. Kind of like Teraba. Swapping weapons will continue to disengage as well. Teraba also receives the special reload animation. So I guess they're sharing the same one. While anti-grav thrusters are engaged, so you're in the air, combatants will be less accurate when targeting the player. Similar to always on time Sparrow. So you will be Neo in the air. I don't think this is going to be as good, especially with an SMG which requires you to be up close and personal. I don't see this being good unless it does a dramatic stormtrooper effect. But like if you're right here and you have to be in the maximum fall off range of an SMG, and I'm thinking GMs, like who gives a crap about other freaking activities in the game? Because you could use any gun, you could use freaking sweet business in almost every other part of the game. So who gives a crap? I'm talking about in game where it matters. With the catalyst, final blows and sustained damage with Manticore, while airborne grants an overshield. Return ammo to the magazine. That sounds interesting. So sustained damage, final blows. You get overshield and you get, I'm curious about the ammo. That's very curious because SMGs struggle and having to reload constantly kind of kills the floating in the air vibe. Players who enjoyed the X-Deer's grenade launcher or delivering on the Boomer Night Fantasy. It's really cool. I'll give them. It's a very cool gun, and not having to reload is even cooler. But it sucked. And so they agreed it sucks. So they're increasing the impact against PvE enemies by 50%. Detonation damage is unaffected. So the total damage increase works out to be 20%. Increase the maximum rate by 17%. So this thing should be shooting about as fast as Boomer Knights do in Grandmasters when you die constantly. Perks. Heal clip sucks. So now they're making it better. The person that gets heal clip now gets cure times 2. Cure 1 for everyone else. Like, I used an adept or an enhanced heal clip and I regretted that I wasted material on such a crap perk. It sucks. I tried using it in a Grandmaster and it sucked. Trench Barrel was originally designed in a world where there were few ranged melee attacks, and it wasn't desirable to make them even more valuable by allowing them to activate certain perks. That's no longer in the case. And we're starting to open these up. Trench Barrel cannot be activated by dealing damage with ranged melees. Can we just reduce Can we honestly just reduce the nerf that we got way back in the day? Can it be just 50% the entire time for a full clip? How many people are running in a GM and using trench barrel or a raid? Because everything, for the same reason no one's using swords. It just, you get knocked back. I don't know. I feel like that would give shotguns life. Take that nerf away and shotguns will breathe again. Barrel Constrictor was fairly experimental, so we shipped it in a constrained state. Now we're removing those limits. Barrel Constrictor, once activated, no longer deactivates upon firing a shot. It lasts 7.5 seconds and its buffs all shots fired during that time. Why can't you give that to Trench Barrel? 7.5 seconds. Within 7.5 seconds, you have that much time to do damage with, and you have to reactivate it. Why can't we do that? Why? I would rather have a timer where you can shoot your load within a certain time versus 3 shots or within 3 seconds. If you don't pull the trigger, it disappears. No, I want to keep the buff. And once I pull the trigger, I got 3 seconds to blow my load, not 3 shots. Loose change is strong in PvE. It's mid to me, but it isn't particularly interesting for PvP. We're adding some buffs to help that. Loose change, applying a subclass debuff, now grants 20% aim assist. Or plus 20 aim assist, 20% reduced aim down sight movement penalty in addition to existing plus 50 reload stat. Applying nerd debuff can now refresh the duration too. Why does that sound really good? If you're building into the element, aim assist, aim down sight, so it's snappy, and you got reload. I don't know. I don't remember how you proc loose change, so I think that matters. Dual loader is garbage, and they agree. So they're removing the cons of it. Remove the reload speed penalty. Change the wording of the perk to make it clearer. Increase the number of shots reloaded, so we can now apply it to other weapon types without confusion in the future. So expect dual loader, maybe in rockets. We might see dual loader in rockets in the future. Or grenade launchers. Since we're shipping a couple of Tex Mechanica legendary weapons in 7.35.5, we wanted to take another pass at the Tex Mechanica origin trait. It really wasn't landing the hipfire fantasy of the Foundry. Yes, because hipfire sucks in this game. With this change, fix my last word, you prick. Landing damage while firing from the hip will make it easier to land follow-up crits. Tex Mechanica balance, plus 20 range, 0.5 degree hipfire precision cone angle, in addition to other effects, making it easier to land follow-up crits with hipfire. Hake breach armaments, deconstruct, and stuttering felt like they should work against more targets that look like constructs or vehicles. Now works against voice holes, strand clones, cabal projection shields, and brigs. Okay, I understand everything else, but like brigs? That is literally a mech. Get out of here. Hake armaments has one specific edge case that increases the complexity of the perk and is no longer needed, so reducing the number of different damage bonuses this perk has. Damage against stasis crystal reduced from 85% to 60%. As an origin trait, Sundering has fairly high uptime in Warlord's Ruin because of the number of eye turrets. However, a perk themed around breaking stuff feels like it could apply more broadly, and the shield break is an obvious activator. Can now trigger on shield break in addition to final blows on vehicles and constructs. Cool. We add a small reload speed scaler while reducing the charge rate benefit to account for the higher uptime. At least it has more use than just a dungeon. Hatchling is a fun perk, but it sucks balls. So now it can activate it's no longer locked to archetype, and it can happen based on precision or non-precision kills. Instead of the perk will be triggered with 3 precision non-kills or just a precision kill. Target lock nerf! We knew this was going to happen. And it sucks because it happened because of PvP, but PvE is getting it too. Now activates later in the magazine for SMGs at 20% instead of 12.5%, so the damage buff will swing primary weapon gunfights less often. They do say PvP, but this 100% activates, they say nothing about PvE. Like, it's like a stealth nerf, even though it's in your face. Like, they're not saying it's a nerf for PvE, but we all know it's a nerf in PvE. So, but it's only for SMGs. So if you loved using SMGs in PvE with target locked, now's the time to find something else. No, Envious Assassins getting nerfed. Each activation is now capped at 100% of magazine size instead of 150%. And the maximum overflow is now 3 times the magazine instead of 4 times. Rest in peace, Scatter Signal. I'm going to miss my 18 in the mag clip. I'm going to miss you, baby. I'm going to miss you. I hope I'm going to miss you. Still going to be really good, though. Let's be honest. It's still going to be very solid. Bait switch nerf. They're reducing the damage by 5%. That's it. I think it's going to be noticeable, but not as noticeable. I think this is a reasonable nerf. Especially since it was the buff that was making grenade launchers better, making rocket launchers better. Hell, if they put it on a glaive, it's going to make glaives better. It's a little ridiculous. 1-2 punch now correctly deactivates after dealing damage with a powered melee. Deconstruct, one of the worst perks in the game. Updated the perk description to correctly state that it pulls ammo from thin air, not reserves. Fixed a bug preventing the perk from triggering when shooting an enemy Titan barricade. Still one of the worst perks in the game. I delete it every time I see it. Bonus damage against mini bosses should have been part of boss spec, not major spec. We've updated these mods correctly. So does that mean champions are now, because I'm pretty sure champions are mini bosses. So now you can run a boss spec and not have to worry about losing damage on bosses. All right, the future. They've got a lot to do in the Crucible sandbox, and we're going to see what you guys think, right? I'm going to skip all the generics. They're going to buff. We're rebalancing many weapon types in PvE, buffing underperformed weapons, leaving most high performers untouched. Since we're looking at PvE weapons tuning anyway, over the course of the year of the final shape, we'll be looking at weapon mods that feel mandatory, and we intend to make some changes that will increase the player choice, particularly in PvE. We're also making substantial changes to several of the least used exotics. We see a lot of requests for these. See if you can guess which exotics we touched. Skyburner's Oath. And adjust some perks, including a long requested change to Chill Clip, making it more viable to use on slower. Yeah, it literally made it every other stasis fusion worthless except Riptide. You can now look forward to being able to enhance many more weapons. We'll be back with more information. Does that mean we can get more raid weapons? Like masters? I don't know. We'll see. The Crucible sandbox. I know Crucible fans, you've been waiting for this. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel. So they're changing abilities. They're changing a lot. We're umbrelling this whole paragraph because I'm running out of time and volume. I'm losing my voice. Their goals. This is what matters. Help players more clearly understand the sequence of events that led to their death, so that they can more easily learn how to improve. This is obviously focused on new players and casuals, and some veterans who would like to know, like, why did I just die randomly? Which usually it's because it's cheaters. And lag. Alter the weapon sandbox to account for increased average skill of our player base by reducing the amount of high reward, low risk options. So they're making, the ceiling for high reward is getting lower. Encourage primary weapon mastery to be an aspirational pursuit for players. Get good scrub. You're not going to use shotguns the entire time. As we increase the prevalence and strength of the sandbox elements, the ability to clearly understand what is happening from a target's perspective has suffered. They do a lot of explaining that things happen so fast. So let's just get to what they're actually doing. These symptoms are all generated by a handful of root causes, each generally linked to others in a cycle of balance that encourages us to touch all of them at once if we're making big changes, or in smaller increments if we are modifying things individually. We have certain ability builds with either higher uptimes or higher potency than we believe is healthy. Expect nerfs. To help keep those builds in check, we provide a near constant availability of special ammo, which means there is always a surplus of one-shot kill weapons on the field. And to keep primary weapons competitive, we have made primary weapons highly lethal, fast killing, and in general also very forgiving. All that leads to is a high percentage of deaths in our sandbox where, from the target's perspective, it feels like there was nothing they could have done differently. Simply put, we have a risk versus reward problem. Over time, we push some of our sandbox elements to have higher rewards without offsetting them with a risk of punishing suboptimal play. Some elements take it a further step. Instead of just rewarding the attacker, they punish the target. The explosive payload can flinch in Wishender's true sight. To begin to address these issues, the following change will be applied to Crucible starting with update 7.35.5 on March 5th. Player health. We have two goals with the following increase to player health. It gives us more granularity to balance our current and future sandbox. So they're increasing HP. You're going to have more health. Players will have 30 more HP in Crucible at 100. And then shields will be from 116 to 130, depending on your resilience. So at max resilience, you're looking at 130. 130 is what the number you're looking at now. So anything that was doing 100 damage or something now is going to take more than that. Ability cooldowns. They're getting nerfed. Melee, grenade, and class ability cooldowns now have a 5% penalty applied to them in the Crucible only. Super cooldowns now have a 20% penalty in Crucible only. Ability damage. Supers now have a 35% increase to offset the increase in HP. Increase base melee damage by 16% again to offset that. Grenades. Specifically the arc flex grenade, 16% to offset the changes. Everything else obviously is going to be doing less damage, or you're not necessarily less damage, but it will not make people as weak anymore. And that's part of the nerf that they're trying to do. Instead of just nerfing everything, they're just giving more health, and then it's naturally nerfing things. Primary weapons. Pulse rifles. Oh, dude, you know someone's getting triggered from this. Pulse rifles, auto rifles, sidearms, and scouts now do 14% increased critical damage. Hand cannons, you're getting a nice 10% increase. You're getting a fat decrease, not fat, it's like a 5% nerf. You're also getting a nerf in your how much flinch you deal by projectile impact by 12.5% and explosive payloads, specifically 10% less damage. Submachine guns are getting a critical hit buff from 12.5% and reduced body shot damage by 3%. So they're gonna it's gonna suck with target locked. Submachine guns might be dead in PvP. We'll see. Reduce base damage from bows by 15%. Bows, man, everything's getting nerfed except for pulses, autos, sidearms, and scouts. This sounds like that's gonna be where you're going to want to live, is in pulse rifle meta. BXR, baby. Here we go. I love BXR. Oh, I would love to live in the BXR meta. Special ammo acquisition. What you need to know is there's a bunch of numbers here. I'm going to give you the down low before my voice runs out for this video. Essentially, you're going to start with 2 bricks, 2 shots, and you're going to be able to get those kills. Afterward, it's all based on kills, just like checkmate. You need to get kills. Now, it's not specified here if you die, does it reset it? I'm assuming it does because Bungie sucks. But here's the thing. If you already have ammo, you no longer lose it on death. And having stacks of ammo in your special will bleed over to rounds. If it's a round-based mode, it will bleed over, meaning, yes, Trials, you can farm a bunch of special and then burn your load to guarantee a win. That's what's going to happen. People are going to get shotguns. People are going to go and get what? Like fusion rifles. And they're going to stock up as much as possible. And then they're going to bum rush the other team and just nuke them to oblivion. That's what's going to happen. And this is how you get it, right? This is all the kills and assists and all that stuff. I don't know. I never played Checkmate. I'm indifferent. It's one of those. I'll just adapt and I'll get good and adapt. For me, I'm speaking for me. You guys let me know whether this is a good thing or not. But for me, I'll just get good and adapt. Special weapon archetypes. Trace rifles, shotguns, and fusions increase base damage by 20%. Yeah, because they suck. Glaives, 20%. The melee damage, 16%. Heavy weapons, reduce the detonation damage by 5%. Machine guns, increase damage by 20%. Yeah, because they used to be the meta, and now they're like never used. It feels bad to use a machine gun. Exotics, they're getting nerfed. Fighting Lion, decreased damage versus players by 20%. Thank God, it was more of a meme and annoyance than anything. Devil's Ruin, no longer getting cheese. Nerfed the beam by 15%. Crimson, getting nerfed in its flinch. You're not going to be able to flinch people anymore. It's not going to be treated like a pulse rifle. It's just a base hand cannon. Forerunner, getting that 20% increase. Thank you. Symmetry, the revolution damage is now getting a 60% increase. And then here's your freebie. Remember, pay pigs, eat your slop. Trials map is Dead Cliffs. I don't care. Humble Bundle. Isn't it ironic that they advertise the whole bundle at a discount and it's not even them offering it? It's Humble that's offering it. Man, if only they just did some of the basics. What? Whatever. Moving on. Again, it's under player support reports, known issues. Players are still not having fun in the game. They'll fix it maybe eventually. Artwork. Here's your artwork. Very nice. Yep. Old man Osiris freaking out. Yep. And that's it. That is it. That's your week. This week in Destiny. This is your news. Let me know down below. I mean, let's be honest. They're making changes into the sandbox. That's good. Unless they're overly nerfing something to the ground, I'm always usually indifferent and it's whatever. I'm usually whatever. Unless it's like a really unnecessary nerf or something that's like, why are you doing this when this is an issue? I will ride the wave. I'm more interested in the actual content. Who cares what you're buffing or nerfing if there's nothing good in the game? If the game is not fun, if the most content you're giving me is cash grabs, then I don't want it. So let me know down below for those who are more invested, who might care more, who maybe don't want to ride the waves, the people who don't want to adapt. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know in the comments down below. This is more of a you respond about you versus responding to me, because like I said, a lot of this I'm indifferent to. So you give me your response and how you feel. And if you lasted about an hour as I gone through this, you're a legend. Go get you coffee. I'd buy you coffee, but I'm cheap. Bye.